Honestly, Jack, I'll put my hand on my heart here, and I've a close allegiance to Offaly. The game was of no benefit to Offaly last Saturday. I just think the McDonagh Cup is the McDonagh Cup. I'm here. I heard a slight rumor last week that it was the last All Ireland preliminary quarterfinals that will take place. I heard that decision has been kind of taken already above in Croke Park. I heard that through the grapevine, and I don't think it's released yet. But I think that it was of no benefit to them whatsoever to Offaly. Being beaten by Carlow in a McDonagh Cup final, where they really performed, and I think it was probably Offaly's best day this year. Got the chances. Um, Refereeing decisions, I think, on the day against Carlow as well. Certainly didn't go their way. I think a player getting sent off and a possible square ball, I think, as well. Um, but look, that's a different matter completely. In terms of Offaly, the game, like as I've mentioned already, no benefit whatsoever. Like it was a hard day. It was a hard day for Johnny Kelly, a hard day for everyone associated with Offaly, because okay, fair enough, let the minor team and the under 20 team making progress in the last 2 years, but in terms of the gulf and class between strength and conditioning of Tipperary, and that's the one thing I was at it last Saturday, and I just had the benefits of being able to stand back and look at it. But the difference in the strength and conditioning, the difference in the speed of hurling, it showed the major gulf and class between the two areas. And if you want, in a different way, we experienced that in the under 20 All Ireland final as well. Basically, like 10 of the team are underage next year, 27 of the panel are underage next year. Very, very, very young group of players with Offaly and 20. But certainly when we played Cork, and I think there's 14 of the Cork panel of 34, 35 underage next year. But in terms of strength and conditioning and the preparation of those teams over the last number of years, I think Cork are coming very close to the mark. And I think it's one of those occasions where Cork are the biggest threat to Limerick. And that might sound, even though they're not in an All Ireland quarter final, I think in future Cork could be one of the biggest threats that Limerick will face coming down the line, because they're certainly making their way back to the top table. Um, but like in terms of the Offaly situation, no benefit whatsoever. It was an absolute disaster. 738, the highest score recorded in a championship match in the All Ireland series. There's a lot of things going on that that players don't need that, um, and certainly I just can't, for the life of me, I can't understand the benefits when you're beaten in the McDonagh Cup final. You really don't need to be going out playing a top class team. If you're good enough, you get up there, and you get up there on merit. And certainly Carlow got up there, put up a brave enough performance against Dublin. Dublin were always going to win it. Certainly below in a tight field below in Dr. Cullen Park, it made that challenge for Dublin. The crowd in around them that little bit more confined, and certainly Dublin performed well enough, even though Michael O'Donoghue, I've no doubt, will look at the flaws of and analyse the game. But certainly no benefit whatsoever for, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's for either team. I think let Carlow enjoy their day in the sun. They won the McDonagh Cup, and I think for Offaly as well, Offaly players getting over the disappointment of it, and certainly puts a question mark. I think it put a bigger question mark in the Offaly players' heads, and now, like, you're in a situation where you shipped 7 goals and 38 points. Very valid point though what Matt made there earlier. Tip conceded 318 against a team that weren't good enough to win a McDonagh Cup, and I certainly think if Galway scored 318 on Saturday evening, Tip will be in a lot of trouble. It'll be far closer than what they think it'll ever be. So from that point of view, it's there's one or two things that question marks all around. But in terms of Offaly, and like I genuinely, those players, they're trying hard, they're working hard. They don't have the benefits of the strength and conditioning that goes into the Limerick players. And I know Limerick from 14 to 16 years of age, they don't lift weights, but yet they're doing technique in the academy. And certainly from 16, 17, 18 years of age, Limerick players are doing weights. The strength and conditioning side of things is massive. And in terms of above it Offaly, I know the last 3 years, 4 years with the minors, I have them doing strength and conditioning, and they are in the gym, and it's beginning to tell for them, and that's the benefits of it. But one of the most important things I think is the speed of hurling that Offaly have got to develop, and certainly the senior team were showing up, were found out, and I suppose that's the only way I can describe it. Playing playing McDonagh Cup, you see the like. It was very hard to stand back and watch it. Like 6 minutes gone in the match, and it was 1-6 to no score, and you're going, oh my God. And I think the whole crowd, even like there was 10,000 people at it. The Offaly people, as you all know, like they follow teams and they follow them good. But in terms of what was happening going forward, it's a hell of a lot of a difficult situation now to pick up a senior team for Johnny Kelly to go back in next year. Look, there's an awful lot of changes has to be made, and an awful lot of things has to be done. But it's one that I suppose that they'll take the challenge, I've no doubt. But yet to step up over the next 12 months, going to Division 1B, it's going to be a mighty challenge for them, you know. Now, granted, there's teams not as strong as the 1A situation, but like it's going to be a mighty challenge for Offaly going forward.
Yeah, I suppose in the grand scheme of things, do you just kind of have to forget about these days and focus on the positives, like the minors winning last year and the 20s getting to Ireland, and understand there probably will be days like this?
Look, yeah, I agree, Jack. But you know, there can only be so many days like this, you know, and that is the pinnacle of the situation where they've disappointed. You know, and it's not, and I know certainly know in terms of Johnny Kelly has done everything in his power, right, to get Offaly to the top level, and as has Michael Fennelly before that. You know, there's been an awful lot of structures, good structures put in place. They have the best training facilities in Ireland, and I that includes anywhere you go in this country, in the 32 counties. Offaly have the best training ground. They have 4 fields, above and faithful fields. They have their gym, their astroturf, video analysis rooms, canteens, everything is there, right? So it's now, and I'm not putting pressure on players up there, but it's the players have got to step up to the mark. And certainly when you put the structures in around them, I've got a great reaction off minors and under 20s. Johnny Kelly got a great reaction this year. They won promotion from 2A to 1B. That's another step up the ladder. But you wonder after last Saturday, and this is the doubt that such a defeat creates, are they really prepared, and are their bodies more than anything else prepared to step up to that mark, to top tier right this minute after last Saturday? No, they're not. And it's part of the project will be now is to mind last year's minus, to mind the 20s teams that, you know, they've stepped up, they're playing at the top tier level, they're getting 2 years in a row, which is no mean feat, getting to an All-Ireland final 2 years in a row for these guys. And it all comes from within, and they've bought in. These young guys have bought in, and they've really stepped up and performed for Offaly. And as I said already, the crowds that follow them are absolutely massive. The atmosphere, it's very unique, you know. As I mentioned it reminded me of my minor days when we were going out to Bruff playing the Corks and Tipperary's. Matt will remember this, and we turned it over Cork in 1984, and we got on to win All Ireland minors in '87 with Phil Bennis bringing these teams. And it's one of the unique occasions. It's not in a stadium, but it's very, very unique, and it creates a unique atmosphere. And certainly below in Dr. Cullen Park this year, down the 20 final, these players bought into that, and you know the crowds in around you, and you learn from these occasions, and you probably learn more from being the crowd in around you and creating the atmosphere than you do going into, you know, the likes of Simple Stadium and these places for preliminary matches where like there's 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people, and you barely know they're there. So certainly going forward, you know, Offaly have a lot of work to do still, and they're making progress, but still a hell of a lot of work to do. And as I said, the most important thing is probably to protect the players that played in the All-Ireland under 20 final. I know there was 2 of them. Charlie Mitchell got a goal and 2 points last Saturday against Tip, and really, in fairness to him, played well. Sam Burke was out in the middle of the field, taking off at half-time, but has performed admirably this year and really is beginning to step up to the plate. But it's going to take a period of time. And then there's Cathal King, Luke Watkins, those 3 or 4 of them on the subs bench. Certainly that, you know, in time they will begin to step up, and they've enjoyed it all. And one that I hope that they stay loyal to Offaly hurling, and do that. The most important thing as well for them, I think, over the next couple of weeks and months, is that the colleges that they're going to, that they do go in and play Fitzgibbon Cup with these colleges. They do they do work on their strength and conditioning, and that the programs are put in place. I know from another 20 point of view, I know the program's put in place already, and they're beginning to start working on it already. But like, that's what Offaly have got to do, and it's going to be a continuous job, 52-week job for the year for Offaly, for these players to be able to step up to the mark. And especially when you're trying to, which is really, in my opinion, a 6-year project, when you're trying to squeeze that into a 3 or 4 year project to get them up to the next level. Like, next year is so important that they do go on and win a McDonagh Cup, and hopefully they do that and step up to the plate and get into Leinster Championships and be contesting. I saw Offaly twice this year against Dublin senior hurling team, and certainly the very first day was, like, I think it was early January, and I looked at it in terms of, you know, the structures and what the Dubs brought. Micheál Donoghue was new on the job, and the enthusiasm that he brought down to Faithful Fields challenge match. Like, that's the thing where Offaly really need to learn from and really need to step up that way.